So there's no rosé grape. I think a lot of people are under that misconception of like, oh, does that taste like a rosé? Much like someone saying, does that taste like a white wine? It's just a broad category. Hey, I'm sommelier Andre Houston Mack, and today we're gonna be tasting 20 rosés under $20. So rosé as a category has become wildly popular and slightly underrated and confusing. But today, I'm gonna show you how to pick out a great one. I love rosé. I think for me it's seasonal, but also like it's fun and it's festive and you can enjoy it any time of year. You can use many different grapes. There's many different styles. We have 20 rosés here, all under 20 bucks. I'm gonna crack them open and taste them and give you my honest opinion. First up here in the United States, we have Wölffer Estate Summer in a Bottle, and this is from Long Island, New York, and this is $19.99. A little splashy splash. Kind of pale salmon color. Nose, oh man, that smells like cotton candy. There's like stone fruits, peaches and apricots, wet sea stone, a slight hint of like the yellow Skittle. So there's some citrus to it. That's pretty refreshing, somewhat electric in a way. There's more grapefruit on the palate. That's pretty tasty. Long Island is a coastal area. It is a cooler climate, but you just need to make sure that you have enough ambient heat during the summer months. It's starting to gain recognition worldwide, and now you're starting to see a lot of these wines being distributed nationally. I mean, we should probably jump in here and talk about how rosé is made. When you're making rosé, it could be a light pressing. You crush that grape and you have very little skin contact, leaving with this beautiful color. Depending on how long you soak the skins in the juice will determine the color. But also what you would find in a lot of rosés, there are white wines as well. I believe this contains some Chardonnay. This wine is great, and at $19.99, I think this is pretty spot on, and I think you get what you pay for. I'm just cleaning up. Up next from Washington State, we have Charles & Charles. This is $15. This is a blend of Syrah, Grenache, Mourvèdre, and a small bit of Cabernet Sauvignon. So it is not unusual for a rosé to have multiple grapes or contain multiple grapes. Rarely do you see a rosé that's from one grape. You can use up to 14 different grapes, I believe. Right, so I think it's more like a recipe. We'll go ahead and taste this here. So kind of pale color here, almost looks a little bit peachy. There's definitely fruit there, but like there's some earth, there's peaches, papaya, guava. This is like kind of like a fruit cocktail in the best kind of way. That's not a wimpy rosé by any means. Like that one has texture, it has grip. It does have some tannin too. So like when I say texture, it's a sensation. It's not like drinking water that kind of just flows off the palate. There's like layers, it coats the tongue. There's definitely like a hint of a smoke element on the fruit side. You know, I don't know if it's that 7% Cabernet that like really gives a wine like this kind of pack a punch. This is really, really flavorful. Next up is Summer Water, California, $18. You know, kind of salmon-esque, pinkish. This is gonna sound funny. This is kind of like prosciutto and melon. This is immediately what kind of jumps out of the glass at me. It has weight from alcohol, right? So it's not a flimsy rosé that I feel that like falls short on the palate. Rosé somehow has taken on this whole persona of being like the Beaujolais Nouveau of summer, right? It's the first pressing, it's fresh. I think as a marketing campaign, especially here in America, you know, rosé was this thing that is what you drank in the summer. That's how we got Americans to drink rosé, and now we're educating Americans to say that rosé can be consumed all year long. I like this one. You know, at $18, I feel like this wine earns that extra $3 or $8 jump. Thanks, babe. Maybe that's what it is. Next up, we have Babe Rosé, 16 for a 4-pack, $4 a can. This is made with bubbles, and this is from California. Hey, you guys, you look great. Love your face, love your energy. You're welcome. Love you, miss you, hate you, love you. Mean it, babe. This is bottled by Yasss Queen. I think this is great. I have always been a proponent of alternative packaging. The vessel doesn't matter all that much if what's inside is good. This speaks to volumes of people who love to enjoy wine and go hiking. If you're at the pool, no glass, it's recyclable. So like, I dig it. Pretty dark. It has more of a red tinge to it than it does pink. Oh. It's got a little funk to it, kind of like a BO funk to it. And it smells like a bad antique store. So you get like this rush of sweetness, and then it's kind of amplified by all the carbonation, but it still doesn't cover up the fact that what you get on the nose is what you get in the mouth, and it's kind of very unpleasant to me. I can see how people would like this. It's sweet, it has alcohol, it's fizzy. This is a surefire way to a hangover. It's just too sweet. I wish I was a rosé babe. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe next time. So here we have DAOU from Paso Robles, California, and this is $19.99. All right, so this is 100% Grenache. So there's definitely herbs, a little bit of bell pepper, really, really ripe raspberry. It's pretty full body. It has a little too much alcohol for me. I don't know if I'm being a baby or something like that, but just like a smidgen. When we think about rosé, we're thinking about stuff around 12%. But 14 is, it's much. And so people like that. I think, people were like, hey, this is alcohol. This is supposed to taste like alcohol. For me, this is just a little too much on that. So next up, we have McBride Sisters. This is their Black Girl Magic Rosé from California, and it is $19.99. It's kind of like this neon raspberry color. Definitely strawberries, this hint of like kind of cotton candy. There is some citrus. I'd like there to be a little bit more acidity to it, but overall, I think it's pretty solid. $19, I'd probably want a little bit more information about, is it from a specific appellation inside of California? For the people that are attracted to this, people love this brand, they have a loyal following. I think that they're getting what they pay for. Next up, we have Dark Horse Rosé from California at $10. It looks pretty dark. A darker color could mean that they're using thicker skinned grapes or there's a longer maceration time, or it could mean that they were just actually blending white and red and just was heavy-handed more with the red. It's kind of like a frosted cherry Pop-Tart. That's not good. It has a lot of alcohol. It almost tastes like kind of one of those malt beverages. When you talk about a balanced wine, all the components are integrated pretty well. This wine is not. All we taste is alcohol. This is something that at $10, I would pass on. So next up, we have Josh Cellars from California, and this is $14. That's it. It doesn't tell us really anything else about it except that it's a California appellation, which means that it can be sourced anywhere in California. That generally is associated with a certain type of quality. And as you start to get a little bit more specific about where the grapes come from, then the quality is up and generally the price is up. And then if you're talking about a specific site, a vineyard site, generally there's another bump in quality and you can expect to pay a little bit more. There is some residual sugar in it. I think there's a hint of sweetness that will lure people in. I think people would like that. So residual sugar is residual, meaning leftover sugar from the fermentation. You can control how much sugar is left in the wine by how long you ferment it. So you can ferment it completely dry. You can stop it halfway, then you'll have more sugar. That's why the wine tastes sweet at the end. At $14, I feel like that we could probably get something that was a little bit more compelling. But I don't know, this leaves me longing for a little something else. All right, next up is Barefoot. This is Pink Moscato at $11, and this is from California. It says deliciously sweet, so I think the wine is gonna be sweet. Just gonna prepare myself for that. No judgment here. I like sweet wine too. So it's like pulpery bubblegum. Feels like a heavy scented oil. So I thought the wine was gonna be like cloyingly sweet. It's not. I couldn't imagine drinking more than one glass. If I was gonna ever enjoy this or be at a party, I would definitely wanna be next to the cheese tray. I love to serve sweet wine with cheese. I can see how people like it. If this is your jam, this is your jam. Where they say, don't yuck anybody's yum. That's what they're talking about right here. All right, next up, all the way from Turkey, this is Paşaeli, and this is made from the Eugen grape, which is known for making really great rosés in this region. Citrus, strawberry, raspberry. This wine's got body. From the nose, I wouldn't expect it to be this full body. It's not like overpowering, but there's a roundness to the wine. And when I say body, it just means mouthfeel. And generally that's perceived through alcohol or tannin. I know about wines from Turkey. And this is what's like so great about the world of wine. It's constantly changing, emerging regions and countries. And to me, that's what's fun. It's a lifelong passion. I want to try the red blend. This is great. I would drink this like all day, all day long. It's kind of cool. So next up from Austria, we have Gobelsburg. This is $16. This is a blend of Zweigelt, Saint Laurent, and Pinot Noir. Those are kind of the three main red wine grapes in Austria. That wine has a zip and a pop to it that's pretty amazing. When I say zip, pop, those are all to talk about its acidity in the wine. And this wine has beautiful acidity. Not out of balance, just like perfect. I mean, you have to taste this wine. You have to taste this wine. This wine begs and screams, drink me now, wherever you're at. I think you do a disservice just to say that you can only drink it by the pool during the summertime. And so when we first started this conversation about tasting rosé, and we talked about this category being somewhat underrated and underserved, these are one of the shining stars, this wine here. This is a real wine made by a real winery with real intention. Next up we have Bela, and this is from Spain. This is Txakoli Rosé, and this is 1999. This is from the Basque region of Spain, so the northern part of Spain. Actually, some of my favorite rosés come from that particular region. The Basque region I like is because it has like its own dialect and own cuisine, and a lot of the top restaurants in the world are located on the Basque coast. This is a really interesting grape. It's called Handarabi. So even if you look at the bottle, there's some bubbles. So generally these wines are bottled shortly right after fermentation, and it's just a little trap gas, nothing to be alarmed with. And generally they have these pours that they put on these wines, so you're supposed to pour them really high to kind of help dissipate some of the gas that's left in the bottle. Wow, this is really herbaceous, grassy, pepper. Now there's a little bit of fruit in there, but it's really kind of covered and clouded in all this these grassy notes. This is beautiful. Definitely something different, stark contrast to all the wines that we tasted today. Herb forward. When you think about applications on how to pair that with food, you know, I get excited about having something like this in my repertoire. So next up from Italy, from Toscana, we have the Casanova Della Spinetta. This is $19. This is 50% Sangiovese and 50% Pugnolo Gentile. Never heard of it, but let's taste it. It's infinite grapes out there. And then they're named after the local dialect, but they might be genetically the same as some other grape, but they call it something different in this area. Very fruity, but it feels really gentle. You know, melon, strawberry. And then the weird thing is it's kind of like this little bit of a smell of raw meat, not in a bad way. Everything about that wine, I'm gonna say gentle, but when it really comes out, it's pretty elegant. I guess in some ways people would say silky. To me, there's a quality to it that doesn't exist in any other rosés that we tasted today. There's something about this wine that seems like it was intentional, that this wasn't a byproduct of some other wine that they make. But generally speaking, rosé is the stuff that normally hits the ground, that would go down the drain, and you make something else out of it. This feels like there was a lot of attention to detail here. Now we're off to Germany. This is Von Winning. This is 1999. This is Pinot Noir, affectionately known locally as Spätburgunder. Say it all with me. Say it on three. 1, 2, 3. Spätburgunder. This is located in the Pfalz region. Germany is a pretty cool place. I think with global warming, you're starting to see a lot of the red wines come out that could never get ripe before and now getting ripe. And you're starting to see them emerging in other markets. You generally don't find a lot of rosés from Germany. And so I think it's always fun to see and to see it represented. Strawberry just right off the top. And then almost kind of like a little like lemon custard in the back. It's ripe, it's round, no residual sugar at all. Kind of reminds me of like being in a mechanical shop. Like there's a petrolness to it that I find, you know, comforting and pleasant. This is good. So next up from France, we have La Vieille Ferme, and this is $10. It is a blend of Grenache, Cinsault, and Syrah. I've seen it around for a long time. You could get these bottles for $4.95, so I think I've drank my fair share of these when I first got it started. We all start somewhere. I'm eager to taste these again. So I get right off the bat like spice. It almost makes me sneeze a little bit. I guess what I wasn't expecting on taste is that it has some sweetness to it. It feels like that it's made for the American palate. I think for a lot of people, they shove this in the icebox, it gets super cold, they have some nachos or whatever, and they're chilling. No shade, I get it. I think most people drink rosé cold. I think if there's a crime there, I think a lot of people drink it too cold. That numbs the flavor. You should take your white wines or rosés out of the refrigerator 20 minutes before you want to drink them to let them come up to temperature, because colder is not always better. So next up we have the Pinot Project. This is Rosé of Pinot Noir from France, and this is $10. A single grape varietal rosé. Pinot Noir is considered, you know, a premium grape in that sense, and you generally don't see it in rosé form. It smells like the marshmallows from Lucky Charms. It tastes like it's a bowl of cantaloupe with a few bit of raspberries on it. But definitely, like cantaloupe to me is a very present thing. So it's not like overly sweet or tart. Very interesting to me, especially at a $10 price point. And once we start to get down under 10 or under 12, I start to go through this mental exercise. Does it actually taste real? Does it taste like it's a real thing that it comes from the earth? This checks those boxes. So next up from the Languedoc in France, we have Gérard Bertrand. This is Cote de Rosé, and this is $18. I believe the bottom of the bottle is a rose. Marketing is everywhere, even when you try to fight it. You're like, well, I'm not gonna do anything, I'm just gonna put it in a paper bag. Well, that's marketing. Hopefully the proof is inside the bottle. So this is a glass closure here with a little kind of plastic suction cup around the bottom that kind of just fits right back in the glass there like that. These kind of closures are for like consumption of young wines. There's a little bit of spice. The wine finishes with like this white pepper. This is Syrah, Grenache, and Cinsault. Cinsault definitely kind of has like this kind of peppery kind of thing going on in it. This is pretty tasty. I'm quite surprised, you know. It does taste a little sweet on the palate, and maybe that's just, you know, the ripeness of fruit that I'm getting. But marketing aside, that's pretty good. Final thoughts on this wine. I'm surprised. Truly, like, I might even spend my own money. Okay, now we have the Little Sheep of France, and this is $12. I feel like one trick pony in that sense of it is sweet, especially with it being a product of France. And to be honest, it tastes like 3 of the other ones I just had. Didn't really thrill me in any way. I think at $12, I think you could probably do better for cheaper. I mean, what I feel like this wine is missing is not true to a sense of place. So it doesn't have the nuances or things that, you know, that speak to me of a certain place. Wine tasting is personal. Maybe our taste align, maybe they don't. Up next, we travel to the south of France, Provence. This is The Beach by Whispering Angel, and this is $19. This is very colorful packaging. It's really inviting. Like, I mean, it's so funny. Like, people say, oh, you really shouldn't shop by labels, but like, people spend a lot of money on artwork, right? You know, people look at packaging all the time now. Like, you have a little splash here. Funny, it smells like rice pudding to me with like a little bit of like cinnamon. So a little bit watermelon on the palate. It is somewhat smoky. It's not bad. It just feels like one-dimensional. I feel like I want there to be something else. You know, some of the attributes that I was smelling in the nose, I don't get any of that on the back end. All right, so next up from France, we have Isle of St. Pierre, and this is a Magnum. This is a double bottle. So for scale, you can see here, standard size bottle, 750 milliliters, Magnum, double-sized bottle. We call these large formats. You know, it's all about bringing the party. People see you walk in with it. This is a quality wine that's served in a Magnum. I think sometimes what you see bargain wine in Magnums just for large format, and that's something totally different. And they're generally on the bottom shelf. They're $9.99, and you can tell by they have inexpensive glass. So it's a flat bottom glass. You can kind of tell this is a high quality glass. So if you're thinking about, you know, collectible red wines, the larger format that you can get those wines in, the more coveted they are, the more expensive they are, because it will take a lot longer for those wines to age because of the size. So grassy notes, herbaceous, melon, raspberry. That's kind of quintessential French rosé. It has the savory components to it. There is some fruit. It's not overly sweet. It has terroir. That's pretty remarkable. If you figure this bottle of wine is $20, $19.99, it's 2 bottles in that. So, you know, each bottle is about $10. It gets better than that, but it doesn't get any better at that price point. This is spot on. Awards for today. I normally don't give out a lot of awards. My 2 favorites. This is from La Spinetta, from Tuscany in Italy, and this is from Austria. This is Gobelsburg. They were so different from a style standpoint, where bright and fresh. And here, this is like just so elegant and felt like it was treated with so much care. It felt like this bottle of wine should have cost double the price. I would like everybody to walk away understanding that rosé is a category of wine, and within that category of wine, there's many different styles for any curious wine drinker, and I think you just have to try them. And even still to this day, I still get excited, I still get caught off guard. There are some serious wines that are made that are rosé that have been here long before this wave or fad kind of came to America. Rosé is a category, and within that category, there's some great wine out there to be discovered. I had the buyer from Whole Foods said, oh, we loved your little video. She goes, but I think I'm better at picking out $15 wine than you.